Have you ever trusted someone completely, only to later realize they were lying the entire time? The scary truth is that most lies don't look like lies. In fact, skilled liars often appear more confident, detailed, and convincing than honest people, because they use specific psychological tricks that manipulate how our brain detects truth. Today, we're going to uncover 3 powerful tricks liars use to look honest, and more importantly, how you can detect them. One of the most common tricks liars use is over-explaining the story. Instead of giving a simple answer, they start adding unnecessary details. For example, imagine you ask someone where they were last night. A truthful answer might be simple: I went to dinner with a friend. But a liar may say something like, I went to dinner at around 8:17 p.m. The restaurant had blue lights. The waiter had glasses, and I ordered pasta, but it wasn't very good. Notice how the story becomes unusually detailed. Why do liars do this? Because the human brain tends to believe that more details equal more honesty. Psychologically, when we hear vivid descriptions, our brain assumes the person is recalling real memories. But in reality, those details are often used to bury the lie inside a long narrative. It overwhelms the listener with information, so they stop questioning the main point. Pay attention to whether the details actually matter. Truthful people usually give details when asked. Liars often provide too many details immediately, even when no one asked for them. Another sign is inconsistent details. If the story changes slightly every time it's told, that's often a red flag, because real memories stay relatively stable, but fabricated stories need constant adjustments. Another psychological trick liars use is repetition of honesty statements. You may hear phrases like, honestly, I swear, I'm telling the truth, trust me, why would I lie? At first, these phrases sound reassuring, but psychologically, repetition triggers something called the illusion of truth effect. The more times we hear a statement, the more familiar it feels, and the brain often mistakes familiarity for truth. So, when someone repeatedly insists they are honest, your brain gradually lowers its skepticism. But here's the interesting part. People who are genuinely telling the truth usually don't feel the need to constantly prove their honesty. They simply explain what happened. Liars, however, often rely on these phrases to reinforce credibility artificially. How to detect this trick? Instead of focusing on how many times someone says I'm honest, pay attention to their actual explanation. Ask follow-up questions. Honest people can usually answer questions naturally and consistently. Liars often become defensive, irritated, or vague when their story is examined more closely. Remember this rule: honesty doesn't need constant advertisement. The third trick is one of the most powerful. Many people believe that liars look nervous. We expect them to avoid eye contact, stutter, or act uncomfortable. But experienced liars know this stereotype. So instead, they perform the opposite behavior. They appear extremely calm, confident, and controlled. They maintain strong eye contact. They speak clearly and slowly. They show almost no hesitation. Because confidence is strongly associated with credibility, our brain automatically interprets confident behavior as truthful behavior. But confidence is simply a performance. Some of the most convincing liars are just people who know how to act believable. How to detect this trick? Instead of judging someone only by their confidence, watch for behavior mismatches. For example, their words may sound confident, but their story might contain logical gaps, or their emotional reaction might not match the situation. Another useful strategy is to pause and stay silent after they finish speaking. Liars often feel uncomfortable with silence and may start adding extra information that reveals inconsistencies. Truthful people are usually comfortable with silence because they have nothing to hide. The dangerous thing about deception is that it rarely looks obvious. Many lies succeed not because the liar is clever, but because our brain relies on mental shortcuts to judge honesty. We assume more details means truth. Repetition means sincerity. Confidence means honesty. But these signals can easily be manipulated. The key to detecting deception isn't looking for nervous behavior. It's learning to notice patterns, inconsistencies, and psychological tricks because sometimes the most convincing person in the room is simply the one who understands how our brain works.